Life lived in a haunted house. To live in a haunted house, to dwell in a broken shell. To lead myself to this hurt so many times, to see my empty life written in all of these rhymes. To have fallen so far from my God, to not even know the direction to the guiding rod, wandering aimlessly in a life of no direction, blinded by my mind's many deceptions. But the ultimate truth of a life so alone, never again in this life will my heart have a home. The pain is so bad, it can't possibly be real. This is what my choices have led me to feel. I tried to live a life that God would not want me to live. I chose my will over his, now I have nothing left to give. He says, blessed are the meek, blessed are those who mourn. What is there for those who wish they were never born? Is it even possible to fail as much as I have? Is it impossible to live a whole life as half a man? This life, the gift, please take it back. Every encounter my heart faces a new attack. Is it really my mind that can't tell what's real? Or is it my heart that will never allow me to feel? My words I try so hard to share. They matter as little as I do to anyone, anywhere. I tried to share hope on a path that doesn't exist. My purpose is hopeless in a world such as this. Writing these words, holding desperately from the end of a rope, trying with all my will to just not lose hold. I now feel no pride in the life that I have lived, but I hold no ill will to any that I've met who do as I tried to climb this hill. I tried to see with eyes that couldn't see. I wish this world would simply let me be me. I tried to be a voice for love in the middle of two worlds consumed by hate. The pointlessness to such an effort, it is such a terrible weight. Heavy is my heart, black are my thoughts, when you realize all your dreams in life are all for naught. To have it finally hit you that this world has no place for you, to ask yourself the question, was there any point to anything I've been through? A life of nothing but pain and sorrow. I have no hope of any happiness in my tomorrow. Everyone wants to hate each other, who am I to deny? Through the last 3 years I have learned my hope is a lie. This endeavor, if continued, could cost me my life, so I give up on my journey to even try. God, grant me the serenity to simply be, the courage to live life as no one but me, and the wisdom to finally look past blinded eyes and see the hope behind this life of demise. My mind has always been a haunted house, it is true. To exorcise the demons, I must first find you. LGBT, not for me. My sexuality is a part of me, it does not define me. This community, as it stands now, does not represent me. If you can't see the damage being done in this country by the leaders we allowed hate to cause us to elect, I don't see the world as you do. Hi, this is Robert. I just wanted to share kind of a big step in my life journey. I've shared in multiple videos that I've been dating in the trans community for about 3 years. Since I broke up with my last fiance about 4 or 5 months ago, my dating experiences have been hell. Especially, it's been escalating to where it's like just such an exponential degeneration into cruelty and mistreatment and rejection. And I just had to, it all started when I basically started to stop trying to hide who I am and what I believe, and was open and honest with people I would meet on the trans dating apps. And I was met with saying my acceptance is not really acceptance, because I do believe that trans women and women are two different things. They said that they just couldn't accept that as me accepting them. I wasn't accepting them. Some of them were pretty damn cruel. I messaged this one person, and I don't even know what to make of it unless they saw something in my profile that offended them, because all I did was simply say, "Hey, beautiful," and she responded with, "Hey, ugly." And I was actually a cisgender woman. I started to try to reach out to cisgender women after having such bad experiences in the trans community. I was like, maybe I'll go back to trying to see if I can develop my attraction to just regular women. And she responded like that, and I'm just like, what the hell is this? What I inspire? Is I always try to be honest and open about what I'm looking for in any of my profiles. And whatever I had in my profile, I don't think there was anything offensive in my profile, and I think I always write them out very clear and very honest about, just who I am. I didn't even have anything political or anything about my view on the community in my profile, and she reacted that way, and I just said, thank you. If that's your idea of an appropriate response to a comment, to a compliment, then enjoy your life as an awful person. But after that, the reactions just kept getting worse and worse. And the last one I had, I won't even go into it because it was just really, really a struggle. I just, I laid down and I prayed to God for the first time in a long time, because I was feeling such deep despair, and I've been struggling with suicidal ideation and trying to fight off the feelings. And when the feelings have been becoming more frequent, and the more frequent they come, the more intense they get, and I just started to doubt my ability to fight them off anymore. And I got on my knees and I just wept and asked God to please just help me, pull me out of this, to get me out of this situation I'm in. I don't whatever I can do. I surrender my life and my will to you. Just please heal me, heal what's broken in my heart. I didn't feel his response, and I was like praying and just breaking down to him for like 30 minutes, and it's 30 minutes straight. And I just asked him, let me feel your love, let me feel what it is I'm giving up on, if my choices really are shutting you out of my life, and that's why I've been feeling this despair and just increasing. Just let me feel your love, and let me know what it is what it is I'm giving up on, so I know if it's something I really want to fight my hardest to try to work towards being worthy of and receiving. And I didn't feel anything, and it got me wondering, is God real? Like, I started thinking he's either not real, or whatever I've done in my life is just cut him off from wanting anything to do with me, because when I needed him, he wasn't there. And I've had people in my family tell me that it seems like God is like actively pursuing me, and there's been so many times where I've come to a point where I've been like, I need to seek out God. I need to do a better job of trying to find my God, and trying to find out how my life relates to what he has, if he has a plan for me, trying to find out what it is, and how is there some purpose to this life, some meaning to the suffering I've faced. And I started to actually question, like, is he real? He wasn't there for me. And something happened that night. I was reading a chapter in Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life book, and it was a chapter on what was it? It was surround yourself with people who want the best for you. And I read a passage from it that just jumped out at me. Let's see if I can pull it up and share it. I got to a point in the chapter where what I was reading, it just felt like something separate from my own thoughts jumped out and said, you need to pay attention to this. You need to look at this, and you need to consider all of these words in this passage and try to find which ones apply to your situation. And I was talking to my aunt about this, and she told me that's just like that's the Holy Ghost talking to you. And I went through the entire passage reading it over and over and over, and there were two smaller passages within it that really struck out to me. And one of them, he says, it is far more likely that a given individual has just decided to reject the path upward because of its difficulty. Perhaps that should even be your default assumption when faced with such a situation. That's too harsh, you think. You might be right. Maybe that's a step too far. But consider this. Failure is easy to understand. No explanations for its existence is required. In the same manner, fear, hatred, addiction, promiscuity, betrayal, and deception require no explanation. It's the existence of vice, or the indulgence in it, that requires explanation. Vice is easy. Failure is easy, too. It's easier not to shoulder a burden. It's easier not to think and not to do and not to care. It's easier to put off until tomorrow what needs to be done today and drown the upcoming months and years in today's cheap pleasures. As the infamous father of the Simpson clan put it, immediately prior to downing a jar of mayonnaise and vodka, that's a problem for a future Homer. Man, I don't envy that guy. And then a little bit later, he's talking about two different aspects of life and aspects of finding purpose in life. He says, success, that's the mystery. Virtue, that's what's inexplicable. To fail, you merely have to cultivate a few bad habits. You just have to bide your time. And once someone has spent enough time cultivating bad habits and biding their time, they are much diminished. Much of what they could have been has been dissipated, and much of the less that they have become is now real. Things fall apart of their own accord, but the sins of men speed their degeneration, and then comes the flood. And all of this is just a perfect description of my journey in this community. Everything has just been promiscuity, sex. I mean, none of the relationships were except for my relationship with Marcy, and I think that's why it's the only one that lasted and the only one that had anything meaningful. Was we shared a view of the world. We shared a view even on the trans issue. We shared a belief in God. And my aunt asked me when I was talking to her, she asked me, do your relationships start with friendship or lust? And I told her, in every relationship I've had, every relationship has started with lust and sex, and from there, like maybe a week or two before becoming boyfriend and girlfriend. And she told me that makes sense. Like, Marcy's the only one that you actually built something with, something real, something meaningful, and we never even were able to share the sexual part of our relationship. And it was the deepest, most meaningful relationship and connection I've ever had with somebody. And so that's what I've been doing wrong, and that's what everybody does in this community. Is so common in this community to meet somebody, and the very night you meet, even if they require you to take them to dinner first, which is even rare, you just go straight home and end up sleeping with them, and it's almost always unprotected sex, which in and of itself is dangerous and risky, but it's just the common practice. You're almost treated like you're weird if you I did used to try to insist on condoms until you started sounding weird. People seem to think you were weird. It's like, condoms, who uses those? And so I've just been living a completely risky and debased and promiscuous and just a deviant life. And I was somehow expecting to still be able to have a relationship with God living this life. It's like whenever I would talk to anyone in my family for spiritual advice, I would basically say, this is how I'm living. I know it's against God's will, but still, tell me why it's okay. It's basically what I would usually try to ask them to do, and they would try their best to comfort me, but none of them ever told me that this is what God wants for me. And I've learned through my experiences why it is that God warns us against some of the things that I've been encountering. I mean, I have no judgment against anyone in the LGBT community, except for specific individuals who have hurt me intentionally. But like, as far as any individual, like just random individual in the LGBT community, I don't think negatively of you. Your life choices. I hope you're living your life the best you can, and in a healthy way. That it does not seem common in the community. But for me, it's just, I was never going to find what I was looking for in this community. I was looking for something real in the trans community. I was looking for love. I left my relationship with Marcy in such an unhealthy way. I was so devastated. I knew it was going to be so devastating that I immediately started looking for not just someone else, but like kind of like a replacement, an equivalent in every way to the connection we had, immediate replacement for her. And that's just not the way dating works in any community. And looking for that in the LGBT community, and since I was looking for an immediate equivalent replacement, I started looking for immediate love. I started to actively try to fall in love as quickly as I could with everybody I was encountering. And maybe that led to some of my bad experiences, but it wasn't all of them. Some of them were just people being intolerant. This community, when I share my views, I've routinely been met with intolerance, assumptions against my character. Like the best that once I've gotten one of those reactions, the best I've been able to get out of anyone after that is, well, I guess you're not like all those other conservatives. It's like, I believe most of what all of them believe. I think for myself, and I mean, as far as everything I believe is all in line with mainstream conservative belief, except for my dating life and my sexual life. And I just finally decided, I've been trying to believe in God. I've been saying I believe in God. I haven't really actively been trying to know what that means and know Him and His Word, and I haven't really investigated the scriptures too much. I've read through a couple of books, like I read through Matthew, I read through some of John, I've read through Genesis, but like I haven't actually read all of the Bible. I'm LDS. I've only read half of the Book of Mormon, and I don't know enough I do know enough to know that this is not the life God would have me live. And I want to live my life for God, and I want to live my life finding happiness and joy. And I don't know if it's not possible in the LGBT community, but how I've been seeking it is not, I'm not going to find it. And I just decided I need to stop. And so this is my farewell to the trans and the gay community. I've encountered many people in each one. I've met some wonderful people. Some people I will cherish for the rest of my life. And some of you have actually been kind to me and wonderful, and I thank every one of you. But this life is no longer for me, and the vast majority of my experiences, I'm just not welcome or accepted as part of this community, and I've never really have felt that I have been. So no, there's no ill feelings. I will still try to be a support in any way that I can for the trans community, trying to I don't know, I don't even know how I feel about it. I just know that I've met some good people in some of what the conservatives believe about the trans issue. I know that there's more to it than some of them would acknowledge. There's stuff that I've seen and witnessed that they just wouldn't acknowledge our realities about it. But even when it comes to the trans issue, my views are more in line with the conservative movement than they are with the LGBTQ movement, and that's why I'll never find acceptance. I mean, I know there's trans women I've come across who don't really actively participate in the community, and some of them don't even consider themselves a part of the community, but they all believe differently enough that, I mean, I've had some of them tell me, you can believe in God, that's fine, just don't ever ask me to, you can go to church, just don't ask me to come with you. And after my relationship with Marcy, I knew that I couldn't have a relationship where someone doesn't share my faith. And that's one of the big things I was trying to find in the LGBT community, was someone who shared my faith. And I mean, I think Marcy was so rare on that. I haven't found anybody aside from Marcy who even believes in God, let alone she doesn't have any specific religion. She just believes in God and Jesus. But we every night we finished our phone calls with a prayer, and that sort of opened the window to me of what a relationship is like when you have the shared love of Jesus. And I want someone who not only shares my love of Jesus, but who is willing to take the journey with me to developing that and growing it and having it become everything my Savior would want for me. So I know I'm not going to find that in this community, and I know that the Lord wants me to, I mean, I don't even know, I haven't shared much about it, but pornography is pretty much warped my attractions. I'll probably share it more in depth in another video, because it's a very detailed experience I've been through. But like, pornography warped my attractions to, I used to enjoy cisgender women and everything that came with her. Now it's like I'm only attracted to trans women, and like I know that if I seek the Lord's help, He can help heal me and help me be able to have a healthy relationship with a regular woman who's also a believer and maybe a member of my church even. I don't know, but I know that following this path in my life could likely end up in my death. So I'm like, again, farewell, thank you. It's been a pleasure, and it's kind of been a nightmare too, but I wish you all the best.